Frankenstein makes a sandwich, and other stories you're sure to like because they're all about monsters and some of them are also about food. Frankenstein by Adam Rex. Frankenstein makes a sandwich. Frankenstein makes a sandwich. When Frankenstein prepared to dine on ham and cheese on wheat, he found and said he had no bread or mustard, cheese, or meat. What could he do? He thought. What could he do? He thought it through until his brain was sore and when Frankenstein prepared to dine on ham and cheese on wheat, he found instead he had no bread or mustard, cheese, or meat. What could he do? He thought it through until his brain was sore and thought he ought to see what he could borrow from next door. His neighbor gawked at Frankie walked the paths up to their porches. Each time he tried, the folks inside would chase him off with torches. A monster, eek, the other people shrieked. Oh, make him go away. The angry hordes unsheathed their swords, pulled pitchforks out of the hay. They threw tomatoes, pigs, potatoes, leaves, and moldy bread. And then a thought struck Frankenstein as pickles struck his head. It's true, at first he thought the worst. His neighbors were so rude. But then he found that on the ground they made a mound of food. He piled it high and waved goodbye and shouted, "Thanks a bunch," then stacked it on a plate and ate a big, disgusting lunch. The creatures from the back lagoon doesn't wait an hour before swimming. Uh-oh. The creature from the black lagoon went back into the bog too soon. Too soon, his doubting mother cried. You just ate your lunch. Come back inside. The black lagoon is dark and damp. You're going to get a stomach cramp. Just think of all you had for lunch: a squid, 3 eels, Hawaiian punch, a bag of chips, a crab knish, a peanut butter jellyfish. You have to wait an hour or more, she shouted from the kitchen door. Alas, the creature never heard. He hadn't listened to a word. And rushing to the water's bank, he dived into the dismal dank, then gurgled, got a cramp, and sank. The Phantom of the Opera can't get It's a Small World out of his head. It's a world gone crazy, a world gone wrong, when the Phantom can't even write a song. Sure, he's using his head, but what's stuck there instead? It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. Angry cursing fills the hall. Now he's crawling up the wall. It's a small world after all. The Middle Witch Watchers Club. A club which watches witches. Witch watchers hide in trees and shrubs or settle deep in ditches, and when they spot a witch, they look to see which witch it was. They check inside the Witch Watch book by Mitchell and Von Fuzz. Today they saw a speckled crone which shrieked while eating flies, and then a frazzled warhog breaking kid and kidney pies. The Lord bald happy beaked happy does his trick of eels. You've got to see. The Middle Witch Watcher spotted are while having tea. When evening came and nighttime spilled its ink across the sky, the Middle Witch Watchers packed their things and waved goodbye. But then by chance they glanced upon the rarest witch of all. A ruby-throated cackler. Look, her hat is 6 feet tall. Quiet now and listen to her sweet alluring call. Cackly-cack, jiggly-jig, sit on a monkey and snack on a pig. Hickory-dickory, cackery-coo, cack-doodle-doodle-doo. An open letter from Wolfman's best friend. Dear Wolfman, I wanted to make some things clear. I know we've been roommates for nearly a year, and I probably should have said something before, but could you please try not to scratch the front door? If you want to come in, you should just use your keys, and if you forget them, Then please, Wolfman, please, just knock, and I'll be happily open the door. And if I'm not home, please don't howl any more, 'cause each time you do it, the neighbors complain. And since we're complaining, perhaps you'd explain how you manage to leave so much hair in the tub. I constantly clean it. I scour, I scrub, and I think I should mention it. It's really a pain. Today I removed a big clog from the drain, and I will tell you, this hair clog was such a size and take home first prize. So anyway, that's all I wanted to write. Please take out the garbage if it's your turn tonight, and thank you. Sincerely, your dog Dynamite. The Invisible Man Gets a Haircut. My hair is a fright, said Griffin one night. At least I assume that it is. It feels awfully long, and this part is all wrong, and it's knotted with tangles and frizz. An invisible, ne'er-do-well hairdo will scare you, no matter how well you cut hair. The barber, downhearted, took aim and got started, and the whole thing went downhill from there. Said Griffin, "Oh my, that's your thumb in my eye, and oh, my nostrils got placed for and my nostrils no place for a comb. Oh dear, where's my ear? Well, I know if it was here on my head when I checked at home." Said Griffin, "Oh my, that's your thumb in my eye, and my nostrils no place for a comb. Oh dear, where's my ear? Well, I knew it was here on my head when I checked it from home." He shouted, "Enough! You're being too rough." Then Griffin jumped out of the chair. So Invisible Man wears a visible hat to conceal his invisible hair. The Phantom of the Opera still can't get It's a Small World out of his head. Count Dracula doesn't know he's been walking around all night with spinach in his teeth. Will someone please just tell him? It looks so undignified. The zombies almost mentioned it. The Headless Horseman tried, but when he said, "What are you staring at?" they lost their nerve and lied. It's been stuck in there for hours now. He's getting kind of mad, kind of sick. I would offer him a toothpick, but he gives me the nervous tick if I ever come too close with any kind of pointed stick. Well, really, can you blame us for if we don't know what to say? His castle has no mirrors, so I guess it's there to stay. What was a vampire doing eating spinach anyway? The mummy won't go to his eternal rest without a story and some cookies. There's a place in France where the naked ladies dance, but when King Tut died, he wore bandages for pants. And he'll never, never go to sleep. No, he will never, never go to sleep. Oh, it's time for bed, all the royal servants said. Mummy played on the floor and he wailed, 5 minutes more? Here's his new excuse. He wants cookies with his juice, but he won't get far. That's his stomach in that jar. Now he wants to read, so his scribes must do the deed. They make groaning sounds 'cause his books weigh 30 pounds. And they say, "You're dead, so you have to go to bed." But he runs through the tombs and he hides in secret rooms. Naya, 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 Naya. The Yeti doesn't appreciate being called Bigfoot. Did you just say Bigfoot? What's wrong with your eyes? My feet aren't remotely as big as that guy's, nor are they as smelly. You see, here's the truth. Some folks call him Sasquatch. His real name is Ruth. So then why is a Bigfoot the name people mention? The smell, not the size, is what gets their attention. His nose is big too, but does anyone care? Perhaps if they smelled, would be more aware. Well, of course, his nose smells, but you know what I meant. You can bet he's no Yeti by way of his scent. The Phantom of the Opera can't get Pop Goes the Weasel out of his head. He's going to freak out. All around the opera house, the Phantom throws a tantrum. The song won't die. He doesn't know why. Stop, goes the Phantom. The lunch sack of Notre Dame. I'm stumped as to why we all lumped this poor chump with the rest of the monsters, just 'cause out of his hump. It's not like he drains out blood from his veins or sucks out your brains and then your cats and eat your remains. I bet when he packs all the brown paper sacks and he takes them for lunch, breakfast, dinner, and brunch, that he'll munch, snack, and chew on the same food as you. Just a hunch. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Henderson. The doctor sighed, for his tie was tied. He fiddled with his combs, and he hated all these dressy balls in crowded halls and homes. He couldn't dance. He found that fancy food just made him choke, and guests would heckle Jekyll as he tried to make a joke. The clock began to chime. The time was 8, and he was late. He'd rather go to bed instead of going out. But wait! The notion of certain potion filled him with delight. Why stay inside when Mr. Hyde could go out for the night? Sure, Hyde was snide. He always lied, and women cried to see him. And yet it still was such a thrill when Jekyll got to be him. You should see him dance the polka. Fancy folk avoid his feet as he reels and whirls the girls around the hall and down the street. He laughed and mixed the draft that makes a gentleman a jerk, and thought a lot about the ball, but not about his work. 'Twas all the fault he added salt instead of crumbled skull. The vial of bile was pickled juice, and dill just made it dull. Alas, a glass of cream of evil mixed with powdered creep was really milk, and milk the maid had laid aside to help him sleep. He never knew he drank the brew while running out the door, although he thought the beaker tasted weaker than before. He reached the ball and looked at all the mirrors at his head. It wasn't Hyde who spied inside, but Henderson instead. His shoulders stooped, his eyes drooped, his face looked pooped and wan, and where the hair of Hyde was fried, his hair looked plastered on. What's done is done, sighed Henderson, and went to join the rest. Around the floor he stopped, to bore the pants off every guest. He told a stale and endless tale that tested their endurance, topped that with pictures of his cat, then sold them all insurance. For Henderson possessed 1/10 the zest that Jekyll had, far less in fact. He lacked the personality of Plaid. The guests profused, they needed rest. They had an early morning. They couldn't stay. They edged away, but then, without a warning, their way was blocked, the exit locked, with Henderson ahead. A cruel ennui, he held a key, and wearily he said, "You know, the sight of all you people trying to get away has made me mindful of the funny yarn I read the other day. And when I mention yarn, you know, I really mean to say I read a story, not a yarn in any woolly sort of way. Although I think we'd all agree that yarn is thrilling, huh? I'd listen to a yarn about some yarn most any day. Alas, that's not the funny yarn I'm trying to convey. This tale is funny, strange, not funny, ha-ha, by the way. It seems to contain donkeys living out of Santa Fe, was made to toil the day away, pulling cargo in a dray. A dray, a sort of cart. You know, the one that filled with hay, but that's not really relevant. The thing I want to say is that the donkey in this particular looked rather smart and gay, owing mostly to the fact he wore a polka dot beret, and if any fellow tried to take the donkey's hat away, then as the ass, that is, the donkey, would get very cross and neigh. Wait, horses neigh, not donkeys. What I mean is to say bray. He would bray, not neigh, if someone took the polka dotted beret away, which reminds me of an anecdote I heard my milkman say. Zombie, 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 zombie. Samba, zombie, samba. Zombie, samba, zombie, mamba. Mamba, mambo, zombie, zoo. Roomba, roomba, zombie, samba. Zombie, zimble, bambi, boo. Zombie, beeza, boombi, zamba. Boomba, zumba, zambi, bee. Bee, bee, bee. Bee, bee, bump. Zombie, zombie. The Phantom of the Opera can't get the girl from Ipanema out of his head. Bald and pale and masked and ugly, the Phantom of the Opera is riding, but when he knows that he can't compose, he goes arr. Every song comes out a samba, although he wants to write an aria. So his top blows and he tears his clothes and goes arrah. The Dentist. Poor son of Dracula, he's just a dud. His daddy is famous, but his name is Mud. For how much blood could a bloodsucker suck if a bloodsucker can't suck blood? Everything's fine as he sucks on the throat of a dog or a hog or a cat or a goat, but a cold-blooded thing like a lizard or a snake makes his heart start to hurt and his fangs start to ache. Franken Jr. was shocked. You'll have to go see the worst monster of all. She's much worse than me. Her fingers are horrible, hooks, needles, and spears, and her voice is high buzzing whine in your ears. Instead of the head, there's a big glowing eye, the Franken boy said with a shuddering sigh. She does sound scary, says Dracula's son. Not scary like crosses or stakes or the sun. So he made his appointment for just after dark at the New Transylvania Medical Park. It's awful, he whispered, so cheery and bright. You'd think it would kill them to turn off a light. They need some nice coffins. It's really a shame, young Dracula said, as the nurse called his name. He followed inside, and before he could hide, the dentist was standing there right by his side. A note to the timid, or just to the faint of heart. The story has come to a frightening part. Stop reading, now put the book down. This is scary. Peligro, use caution. Beware, be wary. Still here? Very well. Little Drac stood in terror. He knew now he'd made the most horrible error. If it weren't undead, he'd have wanted to die. She was terrible, awful. She smiled and said, "Hi." Her voice was sweet, lilting song in his ears. Her fingers were fingers, not needles or prongs. That big glowing eye was a lamp, not a head, and it was all such worse than the Franken boy said. Young Drac couldn't move, so she forced him to sit. Open wide now, she told him. This won't hurt a bit. You aren't flossing, she scolded. And Dracula blushed. And honestly, when was the last time you brushed? You really must brush after every bite. See, a cavity's formed in the fang on the right. It needs to be mended, and so if you're willing, I'll patch it right up with a small silver filling. A filling with silver? Drac wanted to shout. The werewolves will hate me. I've got to get out. He changed to a bat. He flew up and away. The dentist said, "Fine, we won't do it today, but get it fixed soon. You'll soon be glad that you did. Now here, take a sucker. You've been a good kid." He flew from the office and homeward he raced. He sucked on the sucker, but gagged at the taste. He hoped it was flavored like blood or like liver. How scary! It's cherry, he thought with a shiver. Drac knew it was true as he spat and he cursed. My dad made the bed, but the dentist's the worst. My dad may be bad, but the dentist's the worst. The Phantom of the Opera is considering giving up music and doing his haunting some other way. There's a phantom had a song, and Bingo was his name. B-I-N-G-O? See, I told you so. B-I-N-G-O? By jingo, what's his name? Oh, it bugged the phantom all night long. He never was the same. Oh, his cheeks don't show. If they did, though, we'd see them glow. Flamingo pink, oh shame, oh. At least the phantom knows it's wrong. It caused him to proclaim, oh, I'll have no peace, and so I'll go and haunt a bingo game, oh. Bigfoot can't believe you called him a Yeti just now. Wait, what did you say? The Yeti? No way! I know what I'm going. A little bit gray, though I told all the time I can still pass for 30. But Yeti's all white except when he's dirty. And man, is he dirty, you might as well know. The Yeti is sweaty despite all the snow. They call him abominable for a reason. That snowman, B.O. man, is every reason. Hey, sorry I shouted. You gave me a fright. You really don't think we're that similar, right? Zilla pooped on my Honda. Don't ever go to Tokyo. I just heard on the radio that Glendora has taken wing to fight some sort of turtle thing. And as the monster flew away, they saw a zipper plain as day. It seems perhaps these giant brooders are giant men in suits. I swear I'm leaving Tokyo. I watched just a week ago. Some robots crushed my mailbox flat, and only 2 days after that, a moth the size of Fuji goes and chews up all my Sunday clothes. I bought a mothball from the store. It won't fit through the door. And just last night, what did I see? A turdzilla where my car should be. It's not so bad. I'm sure some dupe will pay for a real Godzilla poop. I'll make a sign, or better yet, I'll sell it on the internet. And when I've made enough, I'll go to any place but Tokyo. Thank you for reading along with me today. Remember to like and subscribe. You are never too old, too wacky, too wild to pick up a book and read to a child. Dr. Seuss.